What's up, guys? Kevin Thomas, John Epps here for Moving the Chains. Night 2 of our season preview for the 2020 South Carolina high school football season. You know, last night we gave you 1A, 2A, 3A. Tonight we're giving you 4A and 5A, the big boys, John. We're going to go through the prep poll, kind of give you the top 10 there, give you some thoughts on that, give you, a quick maybe a recap of some people who went up or down in classification, maybe a quick region, how some of that stuff got broken down in this new classification, how that kind of split up. And John's going to hit on some of the bigger players for in the state for us as well. So, last year in 4A, John, the state championship game, Wren beat Myrtle Beach. Big-time game there, a lot of offense. It was a great football game there. So your Wren are your defending state champions. Wren down in 3A now, John. So they can't really defend their crown in 4A, which is kind of odd, but that's how that one's going there. So get into the 4A prep poll here. Before we do that, follow us on Twitter, Movin Chains, on Facebook, Movin the Chains SC. We're on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I mentioned that already. So we're on all these. Follow us, check us out, tell your friends. Let's keep this thing going. Number 10 in 4A, Lawrence, a team dropping down from 5 to 4A there. A good 5A team last year, too. Number 9, North Myrtle Beach. Number 8, Greer. Number 7, Wilson. Number 6, Greenwood. Number 5, AC Flora. Number 4, Greenville. Number 3, Hartsville. Number 2, South Point. Number 1, Myrtle Beach. Your top votes for the first place, you got 7 for Myrtle Beach, 2 for Hartsville, 1 for Greenville, 1 for AC Flora. Some other teams receiving votes: May River, North Augusta, East Side, West Florence, Beaufort, Walhalla, Westwood, West Side, Indian Land. 4A stacking up for a great year, John. What are some quick thoughts on this top 10 in here and whose teams to watch out for?
I'd say similar to 3A with a mix-up of who's in 4A. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool to see some good 5A, or formerly 5A schools now down here with Lawrence. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, I think Wilson is stepping up a class from last year. Were they not 3A last year?
I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly what they are, but I know Lawrence for sure dropping down is one coming
and Greenwood
down.
dropping down as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's really cool, seeing Greenwood mixing it up. And, of course, the usual suspects are going to be tough, Myrtle Beach, South Point, Hartsville. Mm-hmm. But what is cool about that is Myrtle Beach, Hartsville, and North Myrtle Beach, they're all in the top 10, and they're all in the same region.
Yeah, and like we mentioned last night on the show, with the shorter season, a little bit shorter playoffs, not as many teams making it, there's going to be some good teams, John, that don't make the playoffs. That's just going to be how it works out with the nature of the beast there. But I think at most, with 2 guaranteed from each region, maybe 3 if you get at large, something like that. So you're going to see some good teams who don't make it.
Yeah, that Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach game could be a really, really big game this year.
One thing kind of surprises me, John, you see a team like Lawrence, like we said, dropping down, who was good in 5A last year, coming in at number 10 in 4A, which seems like a low spot almost for them. I know they lost their coach, Chris Liner, who went to Greenwood, actually, to be their head coach. Lawrence promotes a guy from inside the program there. They promoted, Daryl Smith, their defensive coordinator. Lawrence kind of ran some of that option attack last year. I'm going to interested to see if they keep that there, and kind of interested to see if Liner's going to take that to Greenwood or what is he going to do. That team or that program has had a storied history. Greenwood's had some really good teams over the years. They're a little bit down lately, but they've got some great facilities. Interesting to see what Liner can do there at Greenwood for sure, John.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with the attitude. Maybe some of you guys out there can tell us. Mm-hmm. But just to me on paper, I would think a program like Greenwood that's been down a little bit and then you get to step down a class, I would think that kind of gives you a bit of a boost and gives you a little more pep in your step going, okay, all right, here's what we need to really get back on track.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if that is the case or if I'm just blowing smoke, which, it could be too.
Yeah, it should be a great year in 4A. We mentioned a couple of the big coaching changes there. One more, John. Easley saw first-year coach Caleb King, where he came from, I think, Havelock year before, actually left to go back to the school in North Carolina. And Easley actually hired Jordan Dura, the former Burns offensive coordinator. So,
okay.
That guy's turned out some good offenses there for the Rebels for sure the last couple of years. Interesting to see how he transitions into being a head coach there for Easley. So, going to be a good year in 4A, John. Who are some guys to watch out for here in this classification?
I tell you what, there is talent all over the state. I think probably the the biggest talent in the state are 11th graders.
Yeah.
In 4A, and lucky for us, they're in the upstate. You've got Jaleel Skinner at Greer. Mm-hmm. He's an 11th grader. He's a 6'5", And in college, he's probably going to be a tight end, as what he's listed as. He's getting offers from the likes of Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, Miami, Carolina, Tennessee. So, all the big names want this guy, and he's in 11th grade. So that's really cool. Another offensive tackle, 11th grader out of Greenville High School, Colin Sadler. He's 6'6", 295 right now as an 11th grader. And everybody wants this guy, including Bama, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, Notre Dame, Gamecocks. Everybody's going for this guy. So 2 really, really good talents right here in the upstate. And Greer's also got an offensive tackle that's a 12th grader this year. He's a Wake Forest commitment in Jaden Collins, 6'6" kid. So Greer, right off the bat, got a lot of talent right there on the front lines, which is a very big deal.
Mm-hmm. Look at some, this top 10, John. It's full of programs that have had some, pretty good seasons here in the past. You look at, like I said, Lawrence at 10. North Myrtle Beach at 9 had a good run in the playoffs last year, winning a couple games, I think. Greer's always good. Now, I have heard they may have a little bit of quarterback issues there. I know the Jeter kid actually transferred out of Greer after 1 year. They went to Spartanburg with Mark Hodge there. And I think the other guy, the Judd kid, may have left as well. So
he was good to
see how that's going to work out for Greer there. Wilson's had some good teams. Greenwood, like we mentioned there. AC Flora has been kind of pretty good the last few years.
Yeah, they're trending high.
Greenville with Coach Porter down there, a former state champion at Hillcrest. They've got some talent. They got the Franklin kid at QB is back. I know they lost a couple guys. I think the Goodman kid went to college, a few other things. But they got a pretty good running back / linebacker. The Gore kid's good there. So get some good talent there for the Red Raiders. Hartsville always good. They're the Silver Foxes, or Red Foxes, sorry.
Red Foxes.
South Point has been, the beast of 4A a lot the last several years. They've got a good kid there, John, the Omega Blake kid that you're going to.
That's right.
Going to South Carolina. I know they lost the quarterback, I think, but that kid's a heck of an athlete. They may put the Blake kid at quarterback. Who knows? We'll see what they do there.
You put your best player, your best athlete at quarterback, typically.
Then you look at Myrtle Beach, who lost, maybe the best player in the state, in Luke Doty, but they got Ryan Berger, a kid who saw a lot of time last year when Doty got hurt in the playoffs. Berger looked very good at quarterback, John.
He did. He looked very good.
I'm sure he can run that offense pretty well as well.
And the good thing for Ryan Berger is he's got 2 wide receivers. So Myrtle Beach, and hey, come on and tell us if we're wrong.
Yeah,
but
comment.
Beach,
let us know some
they
stuff.
probably have the best wide receiver core in the state. 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. They've got 2 3-star kids. One's in 12th grade, one's 11th grade. The 12th grader is J.J. Jones. He's a big 6'4" kid. He's going to North Carolina next year to play for Mac Brown. And then 11th grader Adam Randall. He's a 6'2", 196-pounder. So he's not a little guy either. And he's getting offers from Duke, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas. So 2 really, really good wide receivers they can put on either side of the field and say, hey, double one of them, you can't double both of them.
That's right.
So that would be fun to watch in Myrtle Beach.
So, John, before we wrap up 4A here, who do you think are the favorite 2 schools? I mean, do you think it's Myrtle Beach, South Point, kind of chalk like we've got it here in the poll? Do you think somebody else makes a jump up? Who do you see as maybe a 1 or 2, maybe even 3 of the big players here for this year that you think are going to be right there at the end?
I think just going off of the top talent for everybody, I see Myrtle Beach and Greer playing for the state championship this year.
If they can get that quarterback issue worked out at Greer, I think they're going to have a good team for sure. Yeah. So see how that works out.
And, we followed Greer. We've seen Greer a couple times last few years. They're not short on athletes.
Yeah.
I think that they can find somebody they can play quarterback.
Even last year, Greer has, it's really a down year for them. They make the playoffs. They upset the number 1 seed, South Point, in round 1. Yeah. South Point team was undefeated, I believe. They get upset by Greer in round 1. So that Greer team is, they're well coached. They play hard, and they're always going to be there at the end.
We were at the Greer Burns game last year to kick off the season, and Greer got beat by a couple scores in that game. But then we realized as the year went on, okay, Burns is really good.
One of the best teams in 5A, yeah.
And Greer held the run for I'd say 3/4 of that game. Really held the run and played tough. So yeah, I think Greer. I know that they're 8 right now here in this preliminary poll, but I'm gonna say Greer coming out of the upstate this year.
Yeah, they're gonna be there. Greenville is always. They've got some talent. something about the coaching staff and the way like they run the schemes just doesn't like fit for my brain right. I can't get it. But I mean, hey, they've got some talent there, so they may make a run as well. But they're gonna wrap it up for 4A. Before moving to 5A, be sure, like I said, follow us on Twitter, Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. Follow us on Facebook, Movin the Chains SC. Guys, if you're watching, comment, tell us your thoughts. It's a lot more fun of a show when you guys are interacting with us. So be sure you do that. Set up your notifications for Friday night. That's when the big show happens tomorrow night. We'll be going live, kind of recapping all the scores from around the state and the upstate. We don't know if we're going to be at a game yet. We're still kind of working through some of those, some of those issues there, and some of the logistics to that stuff with the lower capacity and whatnot's going on all around the state. So we'll see about that. But follow us on those sites. Follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever. Check us out. Get all the content, and we're there for you all season long. Now, John, 5A last year wrapped up with a whale of a ball game in Williams-Brice with Dutch Fork kind of having the walk-off TD pass to fade from Olenchuk to Hyatt to win that game against Dorman. I think those teams have played the last 2 years, I believe, for state. I think
so.
No, Teal Hannah played 2 years ago, actually. But,
that's right.
But Dorman's been right there with those guys.
Yeah.
Dutch Fork is it 3 or 4 time defending state champion? I can't keep it straight anymore, John. But the Silver Foxes, they won again. Surprise, surprise. And
they had to earn it this year, though.
Yeah, and you'll hear them here again in the poll in just a second. So number 10 in 5A, you have River Bluff. Number 9, TL Hannah. Number 8, Goose Creek. Tie for 6th with Sumter and Spring Valley. 5th, Burns. Number 4, Fort Dorchester. Number 3, Gaffney. Number 2, Dorman. And number 1, Dutch Fork, with all 10 of the first place votes. John, that's 5A, nice. I know we want to talk about this for sure. We've got to get into this. With the reclassification, restructuring, also came a restructuring of the region. The big one in 5A for a long time up here in the upstate was Burns, Gaffney, Dorman, Spartanburg, Boiling Springs, Malden, Riverside, Wade Hampton. You had 8 teams there. You had 6, I guess, really good teams when you throw Hillcrest and Malden in there on top of those top 4. Bowling Springs has been a little bit down lately, but huge region up here. That region kind of got split up this year. You see Region 1 here. You've got Hillcrest, J.L. Mann, Malden, TL Hannah, Woodmont. Region 2, you've got Burns, Dorman, Riverside, Spartanburg, Wade Hampton. In Region 3, Bowling Springs, Clover, Fort Mill, Gaffney, Nation Forward. So you see Bowling Springs, Gaffney kind of went more towards the Rock Hill crowd, some of those guys there. Malden, Hillcrest kind of went over towards the Woodmont, TL Hannah, kind of Anderson area there. And then Burns, Dorman, Spartanburg kind of held their own there with that middle region. So lots of moving and shaking. One thing I hate to see, John, is we don't get to see Burns Gaffney.
Yeah,
year.
I know.
So
I like
that's always a big game there. Always a big game.
I like the rule is whoever wins the game in the regular season is the one that loses to them.
That's right. That's right. But 5A, John. I mean, you've got some stacked talent here, some stacked teams. First start at the top 10 poll. What are you thinking here?
If you asked me 2 months ago, hey, take a stab at the 5A top 10, I think I'd come pretty close to what we got here.
Yeah. Cream of the crop for sure.
This is definitely the usual suspects. What is interesting to see, Dutch Fork has kind of had a little bit of a cakewalk through the regular season last few years, and a lot of that is because they're Dutch Fork and they're just that good. But they do have River Bluff in their region this year. River Bluff coming in at number 10 this year, so maybe they can give them a little bit of a scare maybe during the regular season. So it's good to see Dutch Fork having a little bit of competition there. But I think more so than just the top 10 is what we're going to see in the region play. I think it's interesting to see. I miss the old regions, but it's going to be cool to see some of these schools play. Schools they don't typically play. I do like that we have Rock Hill and Northwestern. They get to keep that rivalry, but they're really in a Columbia region. They've got Blythewood, Ridgeview, and Spring Valley. And they are in the what I call the Northeast Columbia region. All those schools are right there one another. Except for Rock Hill and Northwestern. Weird how that's put together.
And it's tough, like we mentioned earlier in the show and last night as well, with the smaller schedule, you get the reduced size of the playoffs. You get some playoff games basically in week 1. We've got Burns, Spartanburg week 1. If you're Spartanburg and you lose that game, you're probably not going to the playoffs. That's what it comes down to.
You have to upset somebody.
You've got to be on your game right off the bat, which will be tough for these teams to do with less practice, less contact, things like that. But that's a playoff game here in week 1. you've got a couple other ones. Bowling Springs, Gaffney, same thing in that region there.
Yeah.
Where if you're Bowling Springs, you've got to win that. Gaffney, we think is probably strong enough if they lost again, they can kind of get through that. But I mean, Bowling Springs, they've got to have that win if they want to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, we expect Clover to probably be pretty good. Clover in that region as well.
Yeah.
That's Region 3, 5A.
They're one of the teams also receiving votes. It's Rock Hill, Clover, Carolina Forest, Ridgeview, Malden, Berkeley, Conway, Northwestern, Hillcrest. Clover gave Dorman all they could handle last year in the playoffs, but I think they've lost some talent there this year. They got blown out by Dorman in a scrimmage jamboree last week, from what I heard. So interesting to see what they've got there, what Coach Lane has coming back for Clover. But a lot of good talent there. John, talk to us about some of the big guys in 5A. I know one of the things I just mentioned, Malden has got a couple of the best players in the state, it looks like, coming up. So a lot of talent to spread around 5A for sure.
Yeah, the cool thing about Malden is they've got 2 guys in the secondary that are incredible talents. You got, and they're both 11th graders. They're not going anywhere. You got at cornerback Jaden Lucas.
Jaden, I believe.
Jaden Lucas, 6'2" cornerback, great size. He's gotten offers from just about everybody in the Southeast, including Bama, Auburn, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, Notre Dame, Gamecocks, Tennessee, Virginia Tech. A bunch of schools that have historically pretty good defenses. They all want Lucas. And then also they've got a safety, and Deuce Caldwell. He's a 3-star guy, but he's got an offer from Ole Miss already on the table. So that's really cool for the Malden Mavericks to have those 2 guys back in the secondary.
If we're going, John, that's a team too. Like I said, replacing their coach. Cabanis goes to Chapman. They promote Sayer Naismith, the defensive coordinator, up. And he's done a great job with those kids, obviously. So
and Andrew Phillips as well.
That's right. Interesting to see how he can transfer into a head coach. See how that works out for him. Sorry, John. Go ahead with some more of the big names there.
So pretty cool whenever you have a good quarterback close by. Spartanburg's got Seth Smith. He has got a Memphis offer on the table currently. And then Gaffney has got Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, a 4-star defensive end. This guy, not your typically defensive ends that colleges want now are, a 6'4", 6'5" kind of guy, 240, maybe 250. This guy, he's 6'6", 300. And
wow.
He's getting offers from Bama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia Tech. Or those are his favorites right now. So it'd be cool to see him play at Gaffney. Big frame on that guy, and a lot of talent right there. We've got a 3-star tight end in Rock Hill. I know the Rock Hill crowd will certainly correct me on this name. I'm going with Robbie Oots. He's a
sounds good to me. Yeah,
tight end. He's committed to Bama right now. So good for him. Good to see Rock Hill getting some Division I talent back in the program. Blythewood's got 2 brothers, the Burrell brothers, wide receiver and athlete. Joshua Burrell, wide receiver, currently committed to Florida State. So that's pretty exciting for Blythewood Bengals down there to have him. But just a litany of talent everywhere. Dorman's got a kid Chance Black going to Wake Forest next year. Virginia Tech next year. So a lot of really big-time talent all across the state.
The kid at Sumter, the Boone kid going to Florida, defensive end, I think, from Sumter there. One kid you didn't mention, John, I don't think it's because he just hasn't moved over to the classification of South Carolina yet. Kobe Paysauer transferring to Gaffney from the Crest Shelby area there because they wanted to play football in the fall, which I don't blame him at all. So he'll be there. Another guy who I was kind of surprised on the list, John, is the QB from Gaffney, Andre Lindsey. I believe he's back again. He's been a QB there for 2-3 years now, so he's got some good talent. That Gaffney team's going to be tough this year. They're going to be a good team. The Indians are going to be really tough to beat. A couple of the big coaching changes. We mentioned the Malden change. Woodmont, they promoted their assistant Mudlock there to the head coaching job there. Woodmont's been a pretty good program the last couple of years, up and coming there. Lost Jet Turner, went to another school in state, I believe. Somerville getting Fort Dorchester's offensive coordinator Ian Rafferty, a big pickup for those guys. Maybe the biggest coaching change in the state this year, in my opinion, John, is Mark Hodge going from Chapman to Spartanburg. Spartanburg, a lot of good teams in the past. Last few years they've been very down under Coach Miller and those guys. And Mark Hodge,
talent too.
Mark Hodge is as good as you get. Last few years in South Carolina high school football, winning multiple state championships with Chapman. I know you mentioned the Smith kid there, quarterback for them. I believe if what I've read is right, Raheem Jeter, the kid from Burns, went to Greer. Now is at Spartanburg as a sophomore. Sorry, guys, had some issues there. We are back now. It's back to Spartanburg. Like I was saying, John, Raheem Jeter comes over from Greer, be a sophomore now. Interesting to see, if he gets any playing time behind Smith, or if it's Smith's team the whole year.
And where does he play?
If they
don't put him at quarterback.
Coach Hodge has had quite a quarterback there with Colasardo at Chapman. Interesting to see which one he kind of develops better with, if it's Jeter or Smith or whatever. But that's a program not even receiving votes that could make some noise this year if Coach Hodge, catches a few breaks here and there.
Yeah, and I mentioned it in our 3A preview. Chapman just had, they had a lot of talent, but they just had attitude about them. That team, they played mean. They play with a lot of rage.
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see, is that from Coach Hodge and that's how he runs the program, or is that just a Chapman thing? So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of attitude gets brought to Spartanburg. Maybe that's what they need to boost things.
So, they got that new stadium they just opened last year. Didn't really show out very well for it. So you can see if they can kind of get some wins in it this year. John, who are your favorites in 5A? I mean, do you stray away from Dutch Fork and Dorman? I mean, is that the two? I mean, what do you think, John?
Dutch Fork, they've got, the thing about Dutch Fork is we've got all this talent of all these players in 5A that got all these D1 offers. You look at Dutch Fork, they have one guy, a 3-star wide receiver, and Elijah Spencer. He's going to Charlotte. They're just a good team.
Yeah, good program. Todd Notch is a great coach there.
They're just a good team.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to say Dutch Fork can be knocked off, but last year, that game, I think, proved to the entire state, okay, they can be beat, and they were very, very
Dorman gave them all they could handle. Yep.
And Dorman, they should be very good this year. As you mentioned with Gaffney, I think the one team I think could really unseat Dutch Fork this year is Gaffney.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I think the Lindsay kid's back there, the transfer receiver Pacehour, the guys you mentioned, was Ingram Dawkins, the
defensive end.
Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, Gaffney's always good on defense. They've always got athletes. They've always got big, nasty guys. Gaffney's going to be a good team. Burns is a team we haven't mentioned yet, John, who's been kind of revitalized the last couple of years under Coach Reggie Shaw there. This year they lose Lawrence Scott at quarterback. They've got Braden Blackman there. They got a young kid who's got some talent, but I think it's going to be Blackman's job to lose.
They lose their running back too.
Rajay Harris.
Rajay Henderson. Or what's his last name?
Harris.
Rajay Harris. He was a great back to have.
Yep. And I think they lost the DB too that went to Pitt. Can't think of his name, but the DB that went to Pitt last year for those guys. I think from what I can tell, talking to people, I think the Burns is going to be a little more like almost kind of Tim Tebow Florida style offense where they run him a good bit. The Blackman kid's big quarterback, runs well, not the best passer of the football, so you may see some more QB run game from those guys this year. New OC as well with Gerard going over to Easley, so see how that kind of plays out for them. But I mean, I love that Gaffney team. I like Dorman. I like Dutch Fork. I mean, this could be a very top-heavy, I think, 5A, John, with those three teams really kind of leading the way. But then Fort Dorchester, always there as well.
And, a team that halfway through the year last year that we really weren't talking about, and then the second half of the year, like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, Sumter is really good.
Yeah, Sumter's got some good players. They got the left-handed quarterback, Vasquez is back, I believe. So some good talent there. You talked the Boone kid early. You mentioned him.
Yeah, and they've got both sides of their defensive line, both defensive ends. The Justice Boone kid going to Florida next year. And then the other guy on the other side is the 11th grader, Davin Jackson. He's got offers from Georgia Tech, Kansas, and West Virginia already. And he's a 6'2", 240-pound kid too. So whoever comes across Sumter this year, they're going to get pressured. They're going to get a lot of pressure. So I think Sumter will be one. And I think they are classified as lower state this year. They kind of bounce around. They're in Region 6, lower state. So I think there'll be a team in the lower state that can make a lot of noise. Do they have enough horsepower to beat Dutch Fork? If they get there, who knows? But I think that'll be fun to watch Sumter. I think they can go deep. But at the end of the day, I expect Gaffney and Dutch Fork, and I think that game could be very, very good.
Yes, it should be a great season in 5A. Thank you guys for watching our preview yesterday and also tonight of 1A through 5A. We've had a great time doing it, John.
Yeah.
Like we talked about yesterday, I'm just ready for football, man. We're pushed back so far. I haven't seen high school football about 4 weeks past where we should have started. It's going to be fun to watch some football tomorrow night. Interesting to see how it turns out, how these teams look with less practice, less jamborees and whatnot. It's going to be a fun season. Follow us on Twitter, Movin the Chains, MOVICHAINS. Movin the Chains SC on Facebook. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. set your notifications up so you'll know when we go live tomorrow night. Check out all the scores. If you guys go to a game, send us your scores, your pictures, your highlights.
Yeah.
Denise did a great job last year for us on that stuff. So you guys keep that coming. Obviously, especially this year, we can't beat all the games. We might not be able to be at any game. So if you're at a game, tell us about it. Send us an email or send us a Facebook comment or a Twitter message, whatever. Keep us involved in the loop. Also, we're dropping an Instagram as well, Movin' Chains for you guys with a lot of cool high school pictures on there. So follow us on there as well. And we'll have some cool stuff all year long. Where John and I are going to do some weekly preview stuff for you, whether it's either written or it's recorded. We'll see how that's going to be, but we'll get that out there. So, John, any final thoughts on the 2020 season before we get it going here?
I feel like this season is, how you get a board game and you hadn't opened it in a while, and you open the board game and just all the pieces go out everywhere. I kind of feel that's how
it's going to
this
be
2020 season
mad
is.
dash to the
We
end.
got players that are transferring, we got coaches switching schools, the regions are all mixed up, and schools are dropping, some schools are jumping up, and it's good players, it's good coaches, and it's good schools that are moving around. It's not just Actually, I was going to say whatever that new high school is that we've never heard of before. Lucy Beckham, man. We don't know who she is, but she's playing football this year. So, we'll see how it all goes, but I think it's going to be a lot of surprises and a lot of things that we just haven't seen before.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't have to see too many cancellations or postponements. That's the prayer I think everybody has. If that comes down, then what we're already down to a 7-game season. If we get down to a 3 or 4, I don't even know how you have playoffs at that point, hardly. So
we'll have to refund our sponsors.
That's right. Oh God, the Georgia Agency, check them out. All your insurance needs. Bradley, Richard, Mr. Wayne, the crew there. Business individual, hit them up. If you want to sponsor us as well, let us know. We're open to it. We can tag you on whatever stuff, social media, on air, whatever you want. We're reaching 50,000 plus people a month here, if not more than that. So talk to us. We'll hit you up. We'll help you out with your small business, and we'd love to have the cash kind of help us get a little better setup here, get into some games and whatnot. That would be great. But for John Epps, Kevin Thomas, Moving the Chains, this is our 4 and 5A preview. Check us out tomorrow night, probably around 10:30, 11, for all the scores, recaps from around the state of South Carolina. See you guys tomorrow.